you can see, this is not Soho, this is a much quieter suburb. This is Highbury in North London, and later on we're going to go to the East End of London in Whitechapel for what I like to call off the beaten track videos. This is St Augustine's Church in Highbury New Park in North London, and behind it, what was originally the church hall, is what was once Wessex Sound Studios from 1965, partly owned by George Martin of the Beatles fame. A huge number of very, very well-known rock groups have recorded here over the years. The Clash recorded London Calling here. The Damned recorded Machine Gun Etiquette behind those walls. We've had XTC, the Pretenders' first album, which included the hit Brass in Pocket, was also recorded here. But we also have, in 1969, In the Court of the Crimson King, first album by progressive rock group King Crimson, which has given us that classic song, 21st Century Schizoid Man. But very, very famously, at the same time, Queen in there were recording the News of the World album, and the Sex Pistols were recording Never Mind the Bollocks. And it's a very, very famous story that Sid Vicious, one day, probably a little bit worse for wear, barged in on a Queen recording session, and Freddie Mercury, who basically was a pretty good boxer in his day, so I presume he knew how to look after himself, confronted him, and Sid Vicious said, "Oh no, Fred, are you bringing ballet to the masses then?" That's how the story goes, and apparently Freddie Mercury bundled him out saying, "Oh, you must be Simon Ferocious." Well, we're obviously doing our best, dear. What I think is amazing about this, apart from the fact that Never Mind the Bollocks was recorded behind these very walls, is that one of the most classic rock songs of all time was laid down in here. Now listen very carefully from behind those windows. We Will Rock You was recorded in here, along with most of the other songs on News of the World. Apparently they were using the Sex Pistols drum riser to get the stomping, the wooden drum riser. Anyway, so Wessex Sound Studios, I seem to have come a long way to get here, but now we're going somewhere else. Now I'm here, now I'm there. I think I'll stay around. Well, I've got to, because I've got a tour in a minute down here in the East End of London. But we're going to go around the corner to Brick Lane. So follow me. So we're not quite in Brick Lane. This is Osborne Street at the bottom end, but we're in the heart of the East End of London. Osborne House. Doesn't look very much, does it? But once upon a time, this was Psalm East Recording Studios. There were two Psalm studios, Psalm East, which was here, and Psalm West over in Notting Hill, which was previously Island Studios. It's where in 1984 they recorded Do They Know It's Christmas. But Psalm East here, later owned by Trevor Horn, if you remember him, the record producer, guy out of Buggles, Yes, etc. But in the 70s, this was where Queen recorded Now I'm Here, probably Brighton Rock, the guitar-led tracks on Sheer Heart Attack. I believe some of Bohemian Rhapsody was recorded here. They used loads of studios. Somebody to Love, those three albums that those songs were on were recorded here, and the video for Somebody to Love, the studio sections were actually recorded inside the studio itself. As you can see, the door's open, so we can actually see the original door there that led down to Psalm East Studios. But it wasn't just Queen who recorded here in the 70s. The Clash recorded Complete Control at Psalm East. Madonna later on, In Excess. Frankie Goes To Hollywood, when it was under the guidance of Trevor Horn, recorded in this building as well. So things like Relax and Two Tribes and all those big hits. It's pretty interesting. Actually, up where that CCTV camera is, there used to be a sign there that said Psalm East until about 2 years ago. So anyway, the light is beginning to fade. I hope you enjoyed the very, very brief sojourn outside of the West End of London for our Off the Beaten Track video. There'll be more to come, and we'll see you around.